Hello, everyone, and welcome back once more. Wendy and I have been having a chat about one or two things we could record for you. And the first thing we've come up with actually is to talk a little more about truth and the truth frequency, because we talk about it quite a lot, don't we? We're always talking about aligning true and a truth and stuff like that. And it's like, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? How does that present itself to us as individuals?
Such an important subject. I mean, my ears, as ever, are pricked. I love the idea of truth. And of course, truth also sounds like the ultimate normalization, that everybody thinks they understand what they mean by truth. And of course, there is our truth and there is the truth. I mean, we're always seeking for the truth. But I wonder really if people actually even understand what they're looking for. And I guess that's something that we can really begin to unpack together here from your
Yeah.
understandings and readings and teachings. So I love the idea of truth being a frequency. Where do you want to start us in this subject, Sarah?
Well, let's start with truth, capital T, because we're all looking for the big one. And just that alone, it seems to say that there is only one truth. And of course, the reality is there isn't. And if you've been following truth, capital T, or looking, seeking for it for as long as you and I have, you do come to the understanding that actually it's not that simple. There's not just a single truth out there, because it actually has a very subjective quality to it. You can take it right up to the cosmic layer, where we have the truth of consciousness, of source energy or something like that, and that's a whole different level. But the level we're working at here on the earth, here in 3D, blundering about, trying to find the truth, trying to find the right way, trying to find the path, etc. It's a much more subjective process in many ways, and it depends upon who you are and where your consciousness is at, and what level of understanding you have as to what or how you perceive, and the influences you surround yourself with. I mean, we are programmed with so-called truths by the media, by society, by, what we're taught in school, only to find that actually, I mean, I've had to do a complete reality update in the last 7 years or so, when all of this information started coming through. I mean, I've read the textbooks. I've been fascinated by ancient history. I've been fascinated by what archaeology and geologists and God knows what have been turning up. I've read all the textbooks and things like this. And then but all it's done is left me with loads of questions. And then I start to find something that is really different to everything I've been taught and everything I've read and understood, and had to, just do a complete change to something that made more sense, but was absolutely unlike what I've been taught. And there's a sense of huge betrayal in some ways, that you've been misled so badly, but a huge relief at finding something that resonates much more strongly and answers the questions you have. And it's, I mean, we come back to this. The truth frequency. I use the word there, resonates. It just, even though your mind is saying to you, "Oh, that's not what you've been taught. Oh, that's so different. Oh, that's really weird. Oh, that's way out." All this sort of chatter about, oh, you're going to be different. People are going to call you names. They're going to call you conspiracy theorist. All of this kind of stuff. Deep within your body somewhere, something's going, oh, at last we're coming into alignment. And so, when it comes to us trying to establish what's truth, it's almost like we take little steps towards it, because we have lived with such deception and lies for so long. We've been turned around. It's like you've been turned around and turned around and turned around and turned around until you're so giddy, you don't know how to stand straight. what is truth? Oh my God, I don't know. And now we're at this time of immense disclosure. And there's so much coming at us, and a lot of it is, excuse my French, it's complete poo. It really is. But in amongst it, there are absolute gems of gold, absolute nuggets. There are people who really are out there, but they're being drowned out, deliberately drowned out, by all of the incorrect messaging and stuff coming through, and we have to find our way through that. And initially, it feels almost impossible, and people, I know people just give up. They I'm just turning my back on all of this. I can't be bothered. Just leave me alone, and I'm going to crawl back in my box and get on with my life, sort of thing. But we've got to find a way to navigate our path through it. And I think I've talked in the past about how I saw it and felt it initially as a golden thread. I was seeing this golden thread through knowledge and through, I dove very, very deep into ancient wisdom teachings, looking for the truth within them. And I would catch glimpses of something. And as I say, it was this golden frequency that ran through it, and it would appear and then disappear. And I would feel it at my heart level. I would feel it like a tug, that pulled me towards certain things. Then it was like, well, why am I being pulled here? What's here? And you dive into something, and scrabble around, and there's that elusive thread. There's all of this other stuff surrounding it and distracting you.
Yeah.
But so you have to learn to focus, go to that inner point, not let all of this outside yammering distract you. Go to that inner point, that inner focus, and begin to follow. I'm very kinesthetic, so I feel things very easily. Other people, you've got to learn what the way it works within you. It may be that your body goes, yes, that's it. Or it may be that, something inside you kind of says, no, not that way, this way. Whatever it is, it will be slightly different for all of us. So, if you're not feeling and seeing it the way I'm feeling and seeing it, find the way that's right for you. Find the things that you know are true. And part of what, I don't know about you, Wendy, but one of the things that I found that really helped me was establishing a very secure set of my values, not societal values, not my parents' values, but actually sitting down and working out what was really important to me. What did good look like for me? And how did I want that to show up in my life? And what were the things that I was prepared to go to the wall for? What principles was I prepared to go to the wall for?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And once you've sorted them out, and they may not all come at once. Again, we live in a very upside down world where we are deliberately taken away from establishing, which this should be part of what you do as a child, part of the growing up process, that you're encouraged into these ways of thinking and understanding, and putting a world together for yourself, as it were. But that's not the case. It's quite the opposite. We're very discouraged from doing it, and encouraged into what I call a hive mind mentality, where there is only one truth, and it's the truth you have to follow, and you're a bad citizen and a bad this and a bad that if you don't comply, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, establishing your set of values can make it easier, I think, to then know where things are out of resonance with you and not. And then you start to sort of find that frequency, what that frequency really means for you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's so funny, Sarah, we're having this conversation at the moment. I go through phases with my own clients of doing certain things. And at the moment, everything is about values. I've got 3 or 4 clients at the moment, all working through their own personal values. So it feels like it's very in the space. And it's so interesting that we find, as I was talking about it today. And I love what you've opened there for us to all have that inquiry. And as you're speaking, I was having my own knowing of, oh yeah, when I hear the truth, for me, it's like, it's funny, I say it's like a chunk.
Yeah.
My husband goes, what are you talking about? And I say, it's just like, it just goes chunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can might be a key in a lock or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but yeah, something locking into play.
Something
Yeah.
comes into alignment. Something is suddenly not unseeable anymore. It's like it's so there, I can't deny it. And sometimes I will also hear a voice.
Yeah.
So I sometimes wake up in the morning, which again,
Yeah.
you're very susceptible to the truth or your own truth.
Yeah.
In those waking hours and those just about to fall asleep hours. And I will often wake with a knowing, and it may be accompanied with a voice that says, so one that I can think of really recently was at the beginning of the year. I just woke up one day and I just heard no more drinking.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I mean, it wasn't particularly like I had even consciously thought that alcohol was a problem in my life. It wasn't something I was battling with or thinking I'm drinking too much. But I just had this voice and I heard it and I said to it, and this is the interesting thing that I think people do. I said, but I've got 3 big birthdays this year. You know, my husband's, 70, my son is 18, my daughter is 16, I can't do it this year. And I heard my truth laugh and say,
Yeah.
what on earth has that got to do with anything? And
Yeah, it's kind of negotiate. You're trying to negotiate your way through it, aren't you? And it's kind of like, no, it either is or it isn't, you know.
like I know that that's it for me. Now I know in the past I've overridden my truth
Yeah,
with that negotiation, and now my truth laughs at me and says, "Okay, well, you can logic it through if you want, but I've delivered the message, I've delivered the truth." And so I loved what you said about truth finds you at different points depending on where you are
yeah,
in the journey. And so for me, as you're speaking, I recognize in myself that my truth has evolved.
yeah, yeah,
And so I love what you're saying. I hope I hope the people listening are kind of like, oh yeah, well for me it's this,
yeah,
or
yeah.
oh maybe it's that, or a combination of factors is my truth.
Yeah, and I think it is a process of coming again. We mention this phrase again and again, coming back to yourself.
Mhm.
You are an angelic human being. You are someone who is designed to run and contain Christ consciousness, the Christos consciousness, high frequencies of light and energy. We've been taken away from that. We're off target. We've been deliberately taken off target, and we have to find our way back to that pathway that leads us back to where we came from. And that's understanding what your truth is. Your truth is not a truth you've been fed from outside yourself. Yes, listen to other people, gain insights, gain understandings, but always question, is this mine or is this theirs? Or do we share? Do we share a truth? And if we can all share, a wonderful truth that becomes a vision, we can create different realities, as a collective. But we're beaten and battered and abused at so many levels that so many people have given up on this. And it's just kind of like, oh, tell me what I need to believe, tell me what I need to know. It's there's a level at which that's an abdication of personal responsibility, but it's also just extreme exhaustion. Extreme exhaustion. We are so beaten down. So yeah, it's coming to recognize little by little, where your true north is,
Yeah.
and come into alignment with that. And once you have that, then it's much easier to look to the outside world and think, no, that doesn't feel right, but that does. Or there's bits there that I really like, but I need to pick it apart to see what's wrong and what's right within that, and see how I can weave the right bits into my understandings of things. So yeah, trust your own intuition. And again, it comes back to this trusting ourselves. We've been taken away from that. So it's listening to ourselves. It's you know yourself Wendy, it's a quiet voice. It doesn't shout.
No, it doesn't.
It said to you, no more drinking, no more booze, and you're kind of like, yeah, but let's negotiate this. Let's, and we've all overridden it in the past, but now we're at a time where we're needing to grow up a bit.
Yeah.
And just reclaim that for ourselves, reclaim all the bits of ourselves we've given out to others. And yeah, I mean, there is also, there is a truth frequency. We all come in on a soul frequency. Do we have time to go into soul frequencies?
I think if we stay with truth frequency,
Yeah.
because I'm really interested in
Yeah.
that.
We'll look at soul frequencies another time, but there is, one of the soul frequencies, one of the divine frequencies that we can be born in on. There are people who have this as the resonant frequency within their makeup. It is divine truth, the frequency of divine truth, and it's we all contain all the frequencies, but one will be predominant, and those who have divine truth as their predominant frequency, really, this is so important for them. So important for them, because the difference between, it's important for all of us, but these in particular, because if these don't work out what their truth is and find a way of sticking to it, they're going to be misused and abused by so many others. And somebody who can hold that frequency, it resonates out from them, and it's like a magnetic quality that draws people to them. If they can stand and hold that, they help so many around them to do the same, to come into integrity.
Yeah, this is making so much sense. I've got that kind of vision of almost like the sinking Titanic with the sort of orchestra was still playing and the ship was going down. And I think that as the world feels like it's falling, we do reach out to those who seem to be able to stand really calm, knowing. There's quite a few people on YouTube at the moment that I feel are holding that frequency for us. And it's interesting, I know it's another discussion that we're going to have, and then some that is like a psyops, like a false truth. Hanging on to that's what we've got to watch. But I love what you have named here, because this truth, so I wrote down as you were speaking that truth comes in layers. Comes organically over time. But I love what you named there, that when we find it, there is this whole mixed bag of emotions, that we have this sense of betrayal at what we've been taught and what we believed, and where were we in our own protection of ourselves of that. Then we get this almost at the same time, this feeling of extreme relief at the resonance of the truth that we've uncovered, even though it's really inconvenient and really, difficult. But I love as well what you've told us here, which is that we mustn't forget that we are and have been and will continue to be systematically taken away from the truth. So we aren't going crazy. It is happening to us, and it's for us, therefore, to come into that conscious recognition of that, so that we can go, okay, now it's so much easier to be able to live my own truth once I know that I've been deliberately hoodwinked.
Yeah, absolutely. And that hoodwink is an ongoing thing. You only have to listen to the news every day to see how that one's playing out. But, once you spot it, it's like, okay, that's interesting, but you're not.
And the feisty little rebel in me really likes to know that, because it's like, okay, I no longer now turn that inwards on myself and make myself wrong. I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm not letting the system dupe me. I'm going to get in the saddle and I'm going to stay on the horse, and find this truth. So that for me has been a very, very empowering exploration. Is there anything else that we need to know on this subject before we wrap this particular recording up, on the truth and the truth frequency?
I think I just come back to sort of saying that your truth isn't my truth. Now we may share a lot of things, but there'll be aspects where we don't entirely agree. That's not a problem. It's not that you're wrong and I'm right or anything like that. If you start playing that game, we're back into victimizer mode. We're back into playing polarity games and things like that. again, it's coming back to recognizing you're looking through the round window, I'm looking through the square window. You know, that doesn't make it wrong. That just means we have slightly different perceptions on things, and honoring that. And I can learn from you and you can learn from me. And my God, isn't that exciting? And, you know, the more facets in this disco ball of life that you can become acquainted with, the more fascinating the whole thing becomes.
I really love that. So what I think I hear you saying here is there's room for everyone's truth.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't cost you anything to listen, does it? And I
No,
think that
it doesn't. And you don't have to buy into it. You can say, well, I hear you, but you know, it's not resonating with me. Fine.
well, for me,
I
that's
don't
the
need to go to war about it.
exactly. I was going to say that for me, that's the ultimate teaching in, you know, everybody being able to maintain their neutrality.
Yeah.
You know, their ability to say, okay, you know, there doesn't have to be polarity created from everybody's truth. We can have unity
Yeah.
from everybody holding their own resonant frequency of truth. I mean, wouldn't that be an amazing world to live in?
It would be amazing. And you know, it starts with us coming in to understand, find our own values, find our own principles, find our own understandings and truths. And then because it you know it's like a core of steel in you, somebody else comes along and presents something different and you go, oh, that's interesting. It
Yeah.
doesn't really work for me, but it's interesting.
Mm.
Rather than you going, no, you're wrong, you know, and try to impose on them your truth,
Yeah.
because it puts you on the defensive when somebody comes up with something that doesn't quite align with where you are.
Well, I love that
You
frequency
don't have to fight back.
and that frequency of open-mindedness. I mean, what's happened to me in the past is I've sometimes gone, that sounds like rubbish, but I'll just park that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 6 months later,
Mm.
I think, hang on a minute, where was that grain of
Yeah,
thing?
absolutely.
I think I'm ready to expand into that now because, you know, when we're not quite in alignment with what somebody says, that might be the seed being planted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, it can be, as I say, we've been so psyoped that it can take time. As you say, the seed gets planted and it can take time for us to be ready to really start to grow and nurture that seed. But I mean, I have a very simple system. It's kind of like information comes in and there's stuff that just quite patently is I mean, it's just complete gobbledygook.
Mhm.
That gets put in the bin.
Right.
Then there's my pending file for interesting, but not, and it is huge. I can't tell you, it is so huge. Most stuff goes into that until it then gets sorted later on into, no, definitely wrong. Definitely not working at the frequencies I
Yeah.
wish to work at. It
Yeah.
may work for the frequencies down there, but not at the level I want to work at.
Yeah.
And then there are, you know, things that get moved into my truth file.
Well, what I love what you're bringing here is that kind of whole idea of discernment,
Yeah,
you know, and
you know, some of the stuff's been bubbling around in the pending file for donkey's years.
beautiful.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No, because put a pin in that, you know,
Yeah,
pending. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of like, oh, I might need that jigsaw puzzle
yeah,
piece on, but for now, I'll just stick it over there and
yeah,
just know that that's for whatever reason not
yes.
ready to be seen, you know, in my truth at the moment as being a logical part of the fit. So I would love to hear from people in the comments if they would be happy to share what do you experience when you feel the truth or sense the truth or see the truth or smell the truth or however it, you know,
Yeah.
I'd be fascinated to know. As I say, mine's a chunk and, you know, Sarah's got her kind of just that knowing, that sort of felt sense. And I sometimes hear the voice. So I think the more we actually encourage people to recognize that, you know, their own system of seeing the truth is theirs and theirs alone, and that's
Yeah.
just as valid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be fascinating. So,
Absolutely. Mm.
well, Sarah, as always, just a totally incredible, fascinating conversation, and I can't wait to come back and talk about something else.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Wendy. I think we went on a bit there, but it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think that it's such a useful kind of piece for my own work as well, to remember that you know that this is often what I'm doing with women, is just saying, what do you really think? What do
Yeah.
you really know? What do you
Yeah.
really feel? Like, it is okay to have that as a yes,
Yeah, well, I think so many of us have been discouraged from. I mean, it terrified. It used to terrify me. People say to me, "Well, what do you want? Or what's important to you?" And it was like, oh my God, I don't know, because I've never been to that place. I've never allowed myself to go to that place, because you're being told this, and this. And if you say, well, that's not what I want, don't be so selfish, it's not about you, it's about,
yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, and so on and so forth.
And
So you got punished every time you came to it. You were shamed.
shame was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, big one. Mm.
That's been around for a long while, is the shame. God almighty. That might be a good recording to
Mm.
some stage. Shame, the role of shame.
Yeah, let's.
How it keeps us small. I don't know, maybe that's more of a me thing, I don't know. But if that resonates with you, which obviously it does, because you've just talked about it, we might hold out our hands to people with some ideas of how to navigate shame, fear,
Yeah,
guilt,
yeah.
to get to the truth. So it might be a part two of the
I mean,
truth.
it all sits within, what's called the shadow or the pain body. And the shadow and the pain body aren't quite the same thing, but they certainly work together.
Yeah, I'll make a note of it. Shadow and pain body, and how it keeps us from the truth. Yeah. Because I mean, I know for myself, I sweat. I used to sweat when I was realizing that I needed to push through my usually it happens with my parents, but my parents' expectation. I mean, the last time that they did it to me, or last time my mother did it to me, was around the vaccinations.
Mm.
Would ring me and say, I'm sorry, can you explain to me again why you are not being vaccinated? And be
Yeah,
really in my
yeah,
face.
yeah, yeah,
And it was like, so that,
yeah.
pushing through that. I mean, I'm a 50-something-year-old woman, for Christ's sake. I shouldn't be being told off by my mother, but
You see, this is part of the hero's journey. They're initiatory doorways.
okay, perfect.
Mm.
Well, let's go on to that then, because I feel like otherwise we're going to talk about a load of really good stuff that we probably should be recording. So where do you want to go next?
Uh, uh, well, shall we do the heroes?
Yeah.
Yeah, do the hero's journey, then we can go on to the other stuff.
I think that sounds very good. So you said there's a structure to it, if you like, and we're all on it anyway in this evolution. So yes, all right, let's go with that.